Okay, first of all, I want to say thank you all for being patient. I know you've been out here for a long time tonight. I am Assistant Chief Troy Gabe with the Austin Police Department. With me today is that I have staff from the Office of Police Monitor. I have command and executive staff from APD, as well as Assistant City Manager Ray Ariano. I do want to remind you that tonight was a very, very dynamic situation, which involved video footage from multiple cameras, both from our public safety cameras as well as from body-worn cameras. I do want to let you know that the incident, the officer-involved shooting, as well as other incidents were all captured on footage tonight. I did want to give you a little bit of backdrop before I go into the information regarding the officer-involved incident. Tonight there was a concert at Terminal 6, which is located at 302 East 6th Street. Starting at 12:21 a.m., we started receiving 911 calls regarding disturbances at this particular location. We received approximately 3 calls between 12:21 a.m. and 12:39 a.m. regarding fights that were taking place outside this club. The officers did respond to each of these incidents, and due to the size of the crowd, the disturbances that were occurring at this location, is that we had downtown officers who requested both TABC as well as the fire marshal to come to this particular location. Around 1 a.m. There was a disturbance that took place in the alley and the parking lot behind that club. The disturbance was captured on the public safety cameras, and on the cameras you can see at least 2 individuals who had firearms and who fired their weapons multiple times. During the same time frame at 1:02 a.m., multiple 911 calls started coming in regarding shots being fired in this particular location. There were officers that were on 6th Street. They were both on 6th and San Jacinto, as well as 6th and Trinity, that when they heard that there was a disturbance and some shots being fired behind the club, these officers responded to that location. When the officers from 6th and Trinity were approaching the alley there behind the club, before they actually made it into the alley, there was a shots fired that they heard. The officers at that point did not enter the alley, but took a stance of ready to look down the alley, and at that point they saw an individual that was running towards them in an eastbound direction with a handgun in his right hand. The officers gave the individual multiple commands. What I'd like to do is to remind you right here is that there were multiple videos. Is that this is going to take a long time for our investigators to go through our public safety camera videos as well as the videos of all the officers. Excuse me. I was able to view several of these videos, and you can see on one of these videos, the individual's weapon points towards the direction of the officers. At that point, we had 8 officers that fired towards the individual, and 1 officer fired a less lethal, which was a taser. At 1:05 a.m., officers performed life-saving measures while Austin Travis County EMS was en route. The individual was transported to the hospital, and at 1:22 a.m., the individual was pronounced deceased. The individual was a black male, 21 years of age, and at this point we are not going to release his information. But as standard protocol, the 8 officers, as well as the officer that fired his less lethal, will all be placed on administrative leave. The officers that were involved in this incident all ranged from 1 year to 6 years of service with the Austin Police Department. As a reminder, this case will be administratively investigated by the Internal Affairs Unit and monitored by the Office of Police Monitor. A concurrent investigation will be conducted by APD's Special Investigations Unit and in conjunction with the Travis County District Attorney's Office. As I had already mentioned, is that there were many videos. There's a lot of things that have to take place in this investigation before we can provide more information. But I do want to put a call out to our community, is that if anybody was here in this particular incident tonight and you witnessed anything from the disturbance that led up to the shooting or the shooting itself, please contact the homicide hotline at 512-974-5210. As with any officer-involved shooting, it is a very tragic situation. It is a very sad day for our city, is that we have lost a individual, 21 years of age, but we also had officers that were involved in a critical incident. So our hearts go out to our officers, they go out to our community and the individuals' families. And at this time, I'll open it up for questions.
What happened to the other guy in the alley that he was shooting with initially that led the officers there?
At this point, it's still an active investigation. We do know that at this point, we don't have any information that anyone else was harmed in any of the other disturbances. But as I mentioned, is that when the shots were fired, a lot of people went in multiple different directions. And at this point, if anyone out there has any information, please contact our department.
Was this guy hit with one of those shots before your officers shot at him?
At this point, it's still an active investigation, is that we do know that our officers shot at the individual. The subject did go down at that point, and we did administer immediately first aid and life-saving measures on the individual.
Did the suspect fire any shots at police or just advanced with his weapon?
At this point, we're going to have to do a little bit more investigation before we can definitively answer that question.
Were 2 guns recovered from these 2 individuals?
Right now, we do have the one weapon on the individual that was shot and is now deceased.
When you hear about 8 officers firing at one person running, it just sounds like a lot. Is this typical of the 8 officers responding to this? Was everybody just running to the scene? I'm just, public perception of hearing 8 officers firing their weapons just sounds like a lot.
Right. The way that we staff our downtown is that, of course, this is during our entertainment hours, is that we have multiple officers that are staffed in our downtown area command. So in a normal incident that we would have is that you may have a few officers that are responding to an incident. In this particular situation, we would expect is that if there were shots fired in the area, that the officers that heard this, that would start moving towards that incident. And in this case, it was multiple officers. There were 8 involved, but I can tell you is that there were double that amount that were in the particular area when this took place.
Last question.
And so, do you think that the original calls at 12:20 for fighting inside the club, that was related to this? It was the same 2 people?
At this point, we are not aware that is what caused the particular shooting itself. But we do know that there were both fights in the front as well as the rear of the incident. But as I said, these incidents were captured on our public safety cameras, so we do have a good idea of what took place. but I can't say specifically on the calls itself.
Do you have an idea of when the roads will be open?
We will be out here more than likely a few more hours. I do know that we'll be putting information out on our social media regarding the road closures and to avoid this area for traffic this morning. All right, thank you so much.
Thanks.